A mild grayness hovered along the horizon as you walked across damp sand, the hush in your chest expanding each time the wind delivered a salty gust to your cheeks. Foamy waves glided forward, then receded, leaving filmy patterns that shimmered under a veiled morning sky. Hints of daybreak tinted a faint streak of pastel across low-slung clouds, but the air remained cool and subdued, accentuating the hush that had drawn you here. Somewhere beyond that shifting line of breakers, sea lions drifted in pods, forging their daily paths with fluid arcs and playful curiosity. You had come quietly, hoping to discard illusions about them being mere comedic figures or aimless loungers on sunlit rocks. Freed from illusions, you intended to observe them as advanced mammals shaped by the hush of surf and tides, each breath overshadowed by synergy with coastal realms. A small skiff rocked gently, tied to a sloping timber post near the water's edge. You stepped across scattered pebbles, scanning the distance for any sign of sleek heads bobbing at the surface. Freed from illusions, you recognized they might appear at any moment or remain hidden along rocky outcroppings just beyond view. Climbing into the skiff, you tested its minimal outboard motor, inhaling deeply as hush steered your calm. The sea parted in subdued ripples under the boat's prow as you guided it away from the shore, each wave adding a mild bump that resonated through your limbs. Freed from illusions, you realized synergy thrived even if your vantage proved short-lived. Clouds began to thin overhead, letting slender beams of light slip through, painting scattered patches of ocean in pale silver. The hush accompanied every breath, overshadowing illusions of forced excitement. Steering to a rocky stretch rumored to host sea lion gatherings, you cut the motor, letting the boat drift on mild swells. Freed from illusions, you rummaged for a snug wetsuit, a simple snorkel, some fins, each item carried quietly so as not to disrupt the hush-laden calm. Easing into the water, you shivered as the cold enveloped your torso, but a long exhale from your chest tempered the shock. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overcame discomfort if you embraced hush. Submerging your face, you saw scattered fish dart across a kelp bed, sunbeams painting drifting motes in watery gloom. Freed from illusions about immediate appearances, you floated in place, arms loose, scanning each corner. The hush told you that sea lions, agile and curious, might investigate spontaneously if they detected your presence. Time slipped by in discrete segments, your heart adopting the hush's measured pace. Then, from behind a kelp frond, a supple shape slid into view, overshadowing illusions of emptiness. Freed from illusions, you recognized the silhouette of a sea lion gliding near the seafloor, rostrum angled as though sniffing for hidden morsels. Another soon followed, overshadowing illusions of solitary existence. Freed from illusions, you realized they often traveled in small pods, forging advanced social ties that overshadow older myths of them as simple, barking creatures. They advanced with minimal fuss, each flipper stroke propelling them gently, hush overshadowing illusions of clumsy marine life. Freed from illusions, you admired the sleek design that let them twist or pivot with remarkable agility. One sea lion ascended, exhaling a short burst of bubbles that rose in shimmering columns, overshadowing illusions that these animals had no advanced breath control. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy in how they arranged themselves, scanning both the water column and the stony floor for fish or crustaceans. Another sea lion soared upward, rostrum breaching the surface for a mild inhalation, then descended again, overshadowing illusions that they favored land to an exclusive degree. At times, they slowed, possibly sensing your presence through mild vibrations or catching your faint exhalations. Freed from illusions, you remained still, letting them approach if curiosity guided them. Indeed, one parted from the group, swimming a short arc around your left flank, dark eyes reflecting a gentle inquisitiveness. Freed from illusions, you exhaled quietly, ensuring minimal splashing. The hush overshadowed illusions of tension, forging acceptance that they decided whether closeness suited them. The sea lion lingered, whiskers twitching as though gauging your shape. Freed from illusions about them lacking advanced perception, you recognized synergy overshadowing illusions that they responded only to shallow stimuli. Satisfied, it rejoined its companions, overshadowing illusions that your presence might alarm them. Moments later, they drifted onward, each slender body weaving through kelp. Freed from illusions of indefinite closeness, you ascended for air, scanning the surface. No sign of rostrums or whiskered heads now, overshadowing illusions that they would remain for extended bonding. Freed from illusions, you recognized ephemeral arcs anchored by hush. Returning to the skiff, you hoisted yourself in with controlled motion, letting the hush overshadow illusions of disappointment. Freed from illusions, you realized synergy thrived whether or not you hovered in proximity. Navigating to a cove where local accounts spoke of sea lions occasionally hauling out on rocky shelves, you steered carefully among mild wave crests. Freed from illusions about guaranteed sightings, you advanced with hush-laden acceptance. Nearing the cove, you spotted a short cluster of boulders that rose above the tide line. Freed from illusions, you cut the motor, drifting quietly. Then you glimpsed at least 3 or 4 sea lions sprawled on the rock's flatter surfaces, overshadowing illusions that they only spent time in water. Freed from illusions, you realized synergy extended to communal resting on land, forging social ties and sharing body warmth. Nudging the boat's anchor in, you donned your fins anew, slipping into the water. Freed from illusions, you recognized hush-overshadowed illusions of abrupt approach. Submerging near the rock's base, you saw the stony slope vanish into deeper gloom. Freed from illusions, you advanced with minimal fin kicks. A wave battered the rock overhead, forming a mild swirl. Then, from an underwater ledge, a sea lion emerged, possibly returning to join the group above. Freed from illusions, you admired how it maneuvered with near effortless skill, flippers rotating in fluid arcs. It surfaced near the rock's edge, presumably climbing out. Freed from illusions about purely aquatic lives, you recognized synergy overshadowing illusions that marine mammals never seek land. Another sea lion parted from the top, sliding down into the water with a splash, overshadowing illusions that they remain stationary. Freed from illusions, you recognized a cyclical exchange. Some rest, some forage, synergy overshadowing illusions of linear schedules. You rose, letting your head break the surface quietly, eyes scanning the rocky plateau. Freed from illusions, you realized you might see them up close if they tolerated your proximity. Indeed, 3 sea lions lounged on a sun-warmed patch of rock, all whiskered faces angled in mild vigilance, overshadowing illusions of docile slumber. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowing illusions of carefree naps. An alert sentinel often remained watchful for threats. One turned its head your direction, black eyes meeting yours for a moment. Freed from illusions, you exhaled softly, letting hush overshadow illusions of intrusion. The sea lion seemed unalarmed, returning to a half-lidded rest. Freed from illusions, you recognized that synergy overshadowed illusions of fear. Submerging again, you discovered illusions overshadowed by hush when you glimpsed a small group swirling under the rock. Freed from illusions, you followed them deeper, noticing how they dove to snag small fish among rocky crevices. Freed from illusions about random feeding, you saw cunning overshadow illusions of clumsy opportunism. One sea lion pinned a cornered fish against the rock with a flipper, overshadowing illusions that they lacked tool-like maneuvers. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that advanced hunts only belonged to apex predators like orcas. Then, satisfied, the group rose for air, overshadowing illusions that they might linger below. Freed from illusions, you ascended after them, scanning the top of the rock again. Some minutes later, illusions overshadowed by hush guided you back to the boat, each muscle in your arms and legs softly tired from the repeated immersions. Freed from illusions, you climbed aboard, rummaging for a small snack or water while scanning the sun's angle, which had grown a bit higher. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that you must chase them across multiple coves. Instead, hush-laden acceptance told you to rest or relocate calmly. Starting the engine, you navigated further along the coast, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadowing any sense of hurry. Freed from illusions, you realized synergy thrived on calm transitions. At midday, illusions overshadowed by hush told you the sun's warmth might lure more sea lions onto rocky perches. Freed from illusions, you again drifted near a cluster of boulders that protruded from the water, scanning for whiskered faces. Indeed, at least half a dozen sea lions lay sprawled, their sleek forms occasionally shifting to bark or nudge a neighbor. Freed from illusions about random noise, you recognized short barks as communicative signals overshadowing illusions that sea lions lacked advanced expressions. Cutting the engine, you anchored, slipping into the water near the rock's base once more. Freed from illusions, you recognized the hush overshadowed illusions of abrupt intrusion. Down below, a swirl of sea lions glided in arcs, overshadowing illusions about them idly dozing. Freed from illusions, you saw synergy bridging land-based rest with underwater exploration. One large male swam near the bottom, overshadowing illusions that the group's social structure was uniform. Freed from illusions, you recognized that sea lion clans had hierarchies shaped by breeding seasons, overshadowing illusions that barks alone determined dominance. Another sea lion advanced your way, short whiskers trembling in mild curiosity. Freed from illusions, you exhaled softly, minimal bubbles rising. The hush overshadowed illusions of tension. Possibly deciding you posed no threat, it pivoted and joined the group, forging shallow arcs. Time drifted in hush-laden increments. Freed from illusions of indefinite closeness, you ascended occasionally for fresh air. The cove brimmed with scattered fish, overshadowing illusions that sea lions might starve in such territory. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that their hunts required chaotic pursuit. They swam fluidly, each whiskered muzzle scanning for ephemeral snacks, overshadowing illusions of mindless barking. Freed from illusions, you recognize them as agile foragers that overshadow illusions about lazy rock loungers. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that all advanced marine cunning lay with orcas or dolphins. Eventually, the group parted ways, overshadowing illusions that they might remain as your captive audience. Freed from illusions, you return to the boat, hoisting yourself over the side. The hush overshadowed illusions of longing, reminding you synergy thrived beyond your vantage. Freed from illusions, you rummaged for a midday snack, scanning the horizon in mild reflection. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that sea lions performed exclusively comedic stunts. Instead, their advanced social interplay overshadowed illusions about them being shallow mammals. Freed from illusions, hush reigned in your heart. By early afternoon, illusions overshadowed by hush guided you to a wide, open bay rumored to hold larger gatherings during certain tides. Freed from illusions, you approached with measured engine speed, scanning for lumps of whiskered faces bobbing near the surface or roosting on distant outcrops. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that your day would remain aimless. Soon, you spied a cluster of at least 10 sea lions arrayed on a broad rock shelf, overshadowing illusions that they typically roamed in pairs. Freed from illusions, you anchored, again preparing for immersion. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that you might remain a passive observer for long. Slipping into slightly choppier water, you braced yourself for stronger waves. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of fear. Submerging, you glimpsed the rock-submerged ledge, its grooves forming pockets of swirling fish. Freed from illusions, you advanced with minimal fin strokes, searching for silhouettes of sea lions forging arcs below. Indeed, some had plunged in, overshadowing illusions that they only lounged above. Freed from illusions, you approached a vantage behind a small boulder, exhaling gently. A swirl of motion indicated at least 3 sea lions rummaging near a rocky depression. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowing illusions of solitary foraging. Each sea lion took turns diving into the depression, possibly snagging fish or stirring them out for another to catch. Occasionally, a burst of subdued barks reached your ears from above the surface, overshadowing illusions that their communication ended upon entering the water. Freed from illusions, you saw synergy bridging land-based vocal signals with underwater hunting. Freed from illusions, illusions about comedic barks overshadowing advanced nuance had no place. Then a loud series of barks resonated, overshadowing illusions that hush never breaks. Freed from illusions, you rose slightly to see a scuffle above water, 2 large males possibly vying for territory on the rock shelf. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of docile unity. Social complexities included rivalry or disputes, overshadowing illusions that all was eternal harmony. Returning below, illusions overshadowed by hush guided your vantage. Freed from illusions about apex hunts, you recognized sea lions face predators like orcas or sharks in these waters. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that they roamed carefree. Their advanced awareness overshadowed illusions about naive frolic. Each short foray near the rocky depression indicated cunning overshadowing illusions of random scrounging. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of basic reflex. You exhaled softly, overshadowing illusions of tension as a sea lion glided near your vantage. Whiskers twitching, it regarded you momentarily, overshadowing illusions you were unseen. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowed illusions of human stealth. Eventually, the group's rummaging concluded, overshadowing illusions about indefinite hunts. Freed from illusions, you ascended for air, scanning the rocky shelf above. Several sea lions had returned to lounge, overshadowing illusions that they spent all day submerged. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that either domain reigned supreme. Treading water, you marveled at how each sea lion's whiskered muzzle pointed skyward in half-rest, overshadowing illusions of shallow lazing. Freed from illusions, you recognized them as social beings who required communal warmth, overshadowing illusions that lone feats dominated their existence. You returned to the boat once more, illusions overshadowed by hush reminding you how the day had progressed in cycles of ephemeral contact. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that your presence shaped their routine. Steering away from the rock shelf, you decided to explore a less frequented stretch of coastline rumored to host hidden coves. Freed from illusions about guaranteed success, you maintained hush-laden calm. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of your chasing them. The boat glided with mild vibrations, overshadowing illusions that the hush must remain silent. Freed from illusions, you recognized hush as a composed acceptance, overshadowing illusions of noise negativity. Arriving at a secluded cove, illusions overshadowed by hush told you to anchor near a stony arch. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that no sea lions might appear. Donning your gear, you slipped in once again, overshadowing illusions that you were done for the day. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of fatigue. Submerging near the arch, you found a calm space tinted with cooler shadows. Freed from illusions, you advanced carefully. Then, through a watery gloom, you glimpsed a swirl of whiskered forms, at least 4 sea lions forging slow passes. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of random presence. Possibly they discovered fish drifting in the subdued cove. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that you must intrude. You hovered at the cove's perimeter, exhaling mild bubbles. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowed illusions about them ignoring your shape. One sea lion parted from the swirl, swimming a short circle around a rocky column, flipping onto its back in a moment of half-playful motion. Freed from illusions, you recognized advanced comfort overshadowing illusions that they always maintained stiff vigilance. Another sea lion angled near the bottom, overshadowing illusions that surface loafing defined their days. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that each day was predictable. Time glided in hush-laden increments, illusions overshadowed by synergy each time you exhaled. Freed from illusions, you realized no dramatic hunts or territorial fights occurred in this cove. Instead, they drifted with subdued energy, overshadowing illusions that sea lions needed constant action. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of you witnessing everything. Some partial calls or barks occasionally echoed from above water. Freed from illusions, you recognized advanced communication overshadowing illusions that barking equaled mindless clamor. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of random noise. Eventually, illusions overshadowed by hush signaled your limbs needed rest. Freed from illusions, you surfaced, inhaling crisp late afternoon air. The boat waited calmly. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that your day hinged on one grand finale. Each ephemeral swirl or rostrum turn contributed to a tapestry overshadowing illusions of emptiness. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that indefinite immersion was possible. Climbing aboard, you recognized synergy overshadowed illusions of unending stamina. Freed from illusions, you rummaged for a light snack, scanning the horizon tinted by gentle oranges as the sun angled west. Steering back to a small harbor or anchorage, illusions overshadowed by hush guided your approach, overshadowing illusions that speed or hurry equaled success. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that sea lions needed your constant presence. They thrived in hidden coves and rocky shelves, forging daily cycles overshadowing illusions of monotony. Freed from illusions, hush reigned as you tied the boat near a modest dock. Possibly you found a simple cabin or tent. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about lavish comfort. Night advanced in soft hues, illusions overshadowed by hush letting you recall each ephemeral swirling group, overshadowing illusions that they lacked advanced awareness. Freed from illusions, synergy in their hunts, their half-playful swirl, their mother-calf guidance overshadowed illusions that you had gleaned all. Freed from illusions, hush enveloped you, overshadowing illusions of restless sleep. Dreams might conjure images of whiskered faces peering from kelp beds, mild barking on sun-warmed rock, ephemeral leaps overshadowing illusions that only dolphins performed graceful arcs. Freed from illusions, synergy reminded you sea lions also soared in short bursts underwater, overshadowing illusions about comedic sluggishness. With each morning that followed, illusions overshadowed by hush shaped your readiness to slip once more into the ocean domain. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that each day repeated. You might find yourself drifting near a stretch of coastline rarely visited, overshadowing illusions of a well-trodden path. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that sea lions needed crowds. Possibly you discovered a small beach cove that boasted moderate shallows, hoping to see subadult sea lions practicing hunts or social scuffles. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that maturity equaled docility. Cutting the engine, you anchored near a slight reef, once more letting hush direct your breath. Freed from illusions, you rechecked your fins, snorkel, and slid into the water's mild chill. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about random results. Submerging in faint sunlight, you saw parted kelp strands drifting with gentle currents, overshadowing illusions that the seafloor remained barren. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of dull emptiness. Soon enough, a group of 3 sea lions appeared from behind the kelp, overshadowing illusions that no one lurked. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that their presence was accidental. They glided near a sandy stretch, whiskers twitching as though searching for hidden crabs. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that they scrounged aimlessly. One sea lion performed short bursts of speed, possibly flushing small fish for another to catch. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that advanced hunts only belonged to apex whales. Another sea lion hovered overhead, scanning in case you or other potential threats needed monitoring. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that they showed no caution. Each mild bark or squeak merged with the hush-laden water, overshadowing illusions of random vocalization. You hovered behind a mild rocky spur, exhaling short bubbles. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that you spied in stealth. They likely sensed you, overshadowing illusions that you remained invisible. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of conflict. One sea lion parted the group, swimming near your vantage, rostrum angled forward in cautious curiosity. Freed from illusions, you exhaled, each bubble overshadowing illusions of aggression. The hush overshadowed illusions of fear on both sides. Satisfied, it rejoined the others, overshadowing illusions that you demanded further interest. After some minutes, illusions overshadowed by hush told you the group had finished scanning that patch. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that they might remain. They angled away, fins propelling them gracefully into the kelp's half-light. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of longing. You ascended, inhaling a breath that carried the mild brine of midday. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that you ended the day unfulfilled. Freed from illusions, hush told you ephemeral arcs sufficed to deepen your insight. Returning to the boat, illusions overshadowed by hush guided your short crossing to another possible site. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of a single vantage. Over repeated immersions, illusions overshadowed by hush receded, replaced by a tapestry of sea lion cunning, hunts in shallow reefs, bark-laden gatherings on rocks, maternal oversight overshadowing illusions that pups roamed unsupervised. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of naive social ties, revealing advanced interplay bridging sea and land. Freed from illusions, hush reigned as each ephemeral swirl or whiskered check enriched your perspective. Eventually, illusions overshadowed by hush indicated your time among them neared an end. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that you had gleaned all possible knowledge. You recognized that sea lions carried on whether or not humans observed, overshadowing illusions of dependency. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about final disappointment. Each short cameo overshadowed illusions that a single day must yield dramatic revelations. Freed from illusions, synergy shaped your acceptance of ephemeral wonders. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that more sightings must define your trip's success. On a concluding morning, illusions overshadowed by hush led you to a final vantage, possibly a small cove ringed by stony bluffs. Freed from illusions, you dropped anchor, scanning for any sign that whiskered faces might surface. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of certain arrivals. The hush parted your breathing in quiet readiness. Minutes passed with no swirl or bark overhead. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of wasted time. Gently submerging anyway, you drifted among scattered reefs, overshadowing illusions that the day remained empty. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that sea lions never hid behind subtle corners. Ultimately, illusions overshadowed by hush proved right. A swirl parted the water, revealing a single sea lion gliding near the cove's floor. Freed from illusions, you advanced with minimal fin strokes. Possibly it was a solitary subadult or older female. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that large pods formed at all times. The sea lion occasionally surfaced for brief air, overshadowing illusions about indefinite submersion. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of stealth. You exhaled, letting short bubbles ascend, overshadowing illusions that you might remain undetected. The sea lion angled your way, overshadowing illusions about ignoring your presence. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that it scrounged alone. For a fleeting minute, it drifted close enough that you observed fine details along its muzzle, each whisker forging mild contact with swirling plankton. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that it displayed naive curiosity. Instead, synergy overshadowed illusions that advanced intelligence only belonged to whales or dolphins. Freed from illusions, you recognized sea lions too, possessed cunning, memory, social bonds bridging land and water. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that barking and lounging encompassed their entire identity. In time, illusions overshadowed by hush told the sea lion parted for deeper water, overshadowing illusions about indefinite companionship. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that you might chase it. You surfaced for breath, noticing the mild clouds had thinned, letting the sun break through in a final display of midday brightness. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that you needed more sightings. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that ephemeral arcs left you unsatisfied. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions, forging acceptance that each cameo represented an entire tapestry of cunning hunts, maternal rearing, social interplay overshadowing illusions about comedic or lazy reputations. Stepping onto the rocky beach for the final time, illusions overshadowed by hush shaped your final reflections. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about sea lions being trivial creatures. Freed from illusions, you recognized their bark-laden gatherings served as complex social arenas, overshadowing illusions that all was random noise. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about them lacking cunning hunts, as you'd witnessed them flush fish from crevices or swirl in small groups, overshadowing illusions of solitary foraging. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that they passively endured life on rocky ledges, revealing active, advanced behaviors bridging aquatic mastery with communal resting. When eventually you traveled away from these coasts, illusions overshadowed by hush revealed how ephemeral arcs lingered in memory. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of forgetting. Each time you recalled a sea lion's whiskered muzzle scanning you near kelp, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadowed ephemeral illusions. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that advanced cognition was limited to certain marine species. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about comedic barks representing their sole expression. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that your vantage was required for them to thrive. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions, forging a quiet vow to carry their synergy into everyday life. Integrating back into routine, illusions overshadowed by hush shaped each breath you took in tasks far from the sea. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that calm was unattainable. Freed from illusions, you recalled sea lions half lounging on sun-warmed rocks, pivoting seamlessly into playful arcs underwater, overshadowing illusions about separate realms. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that advanced cunning or empathy only existed in land mammals. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that comedic barks or lazy postures captured their essence. Over time, illusions overshadowed by hush manifested whenever you faced stress or conflict. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that reaction must be harsh. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that you lacked an example. Sea lions forging hunts calmly, flipping from communal rest to agile underwater pursuit, overshadow illusions that you had no model for adaptive grace. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that you existed alone, reminding you that forging alliances or solutions mirrored their group strategies. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about societal disconnection. Eventually, illusions overshadowed by hush found you revisiting these memories, possibly sharing them in quiet conversation. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that your experiences were trivial. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that comedic portrayals of sea lions exhausted the truth. Freed from illusions, you described cunning hunts, mother-calf instruction, ephemeral swirling among reefs, overshadowing illusions that they lounged in mindless postures. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that listeners always believed. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that acceptance was vital for your calm. Freed from illusions, synergy remained your bedrock. At the latter chapters of your life, illusions overshadowed by hush shaped your final vantage. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that your best days had passed. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about you losing insight gleaned from ephemeral arcs. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of emptiness, forging a soft glow in each recollection. Sea lions bridging land and water with cunning hunts, group barks overshadowing illusions about random noise, rostrum touches overshadowing illusions about solitary existence. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of regret, ensuring synergy thrived in your memory. Thus illusions remain illusions, overshadowed by hush gleaned from sea lions forging arcs in watery gloom, half lounging on sunlit rocks, cunning hunts near stony ledges, ephemeral leaps overshadow illusions that comedic barks define them. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that advanced behaviors belong solely to orcas or dolphins. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about them lacking maternal teachings or group strategies. Each cameo overshadowed illusions that lazy rest encompassed their entire nature. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of comedic stunts, unveiling cunning foragers bridging two realms with whiskered grace. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of ephemeral memory, ensuring arcs continue in watery coves whenever synergy beckons. A modest breeze traced across the shoreline in early daylight, rippling the water in soft diagonals that gleamed under pale sunbeams. Fine grains of damp sand clung to your toes as you meandered near a low rocky ledge, scanning the water's surface for any sign of whiskered faces or sleek bodies. Overhead, small clouds formed delicate patterns, tinted faint gold by the rising sun. You paused, letting the hush fill your lungs, overshadowing illusions that you must force an encounter. Sea lions, known for both agile grace in the water and communal rest on stony outcroppings, roamed these beaches and inlets freely, forging daily arcs governed by tides, hunts, and social interplay. Freed from illusions, you recognized they might gather here if fish stocks concentrated or if calm rocks offered a comfortable haul-out. Each ripple that nudged the shore carried a gentle hush, reminding you to proceed in measured steps. Spotting a narrow cove flanked by boulders, you steered your attention there, noticing mild wave surges that occasionally broke into froth. Yesterday's glimpses of sea lions swirling among submerged reefs lingered in your mind, overshadowing illusions of comedic or lazy natures that often colored superficial portrayals. Freed from illusions, you approached with quiet acceptance, carrying a small kit, just a mask, snorkel, and short fins, should an opportunity arise to slip into the water. Reaching the cove's edge, you scanned for silhouettes or mild barks. At first, only the hush of subdued waves answered, overshadowing illusions that sea lions must appear immediately. Deciding to continue exploring, you clambered over damp rocks to peer around a bend. The hush overshadowed illusions of intruding brashly, guiding your steps with calm focus. Rounding that bend, you glimpsed at least 4 or 5 sea lions sprawled on a broad stretch of rock, half-lidded eyes gazing at the mild surf. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowing illusions of random gatherings. Each sea lion positioned itself to catch partial sun, overshadowing illusions of constant motion. Some occasionally let out subdued barks or short cough-like calls, overshadowing illusions that they were silent. Freed from illusions, you admired how each flipper angled to maintain balance on the uneven stone, whiskers twitching in an understated dance. You stood a respectful distance away, letting hush overshadow illusions of abrupt approach. One sea lion, possibly a subadult male, lifted its head your direction, black eyes taking note of your figure. Freed from illusions about ignoring you, you exhaled gently, overshadowing illusions of alarm. Another sea lion stretched its neck, mouth parting in a yawn that revealed slender canines, overshadowing illusions that sea lions possessed only comedic barks. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of shallow expressions, pointing to an advanced social dynamic. They resumed half-rest, overshadowing illusions that your presence alone triggered flight. Satisfied with a cursory glance, you decided not to disturb them from land-based vantage. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowing illusions of forced closeness. Instead, you returned to a small inflatable craft moored a short walk away, each footstep overshadowing illusions that you must linger. Freed from illusions, Hush shaped your approach to the water, scanning for a calm patch to submerge. Climbing into the boat, you navigated around the bend to a sheltered side of the same rocky formation, hoping to glimpse these sea lions from a watery perspective if they chose to slip in for a short swim. Cutting the engine near a wedge of submerged boulders, you anchored gently. Freed from illusions, you donned your fins, slid into the water's mild chill. The Hush guided each breath as you submerged your face, overshadowing illusions about abrupt intrusion. Below, a modest slope of sand gave way to scattered rocks that formed partial walls where fish might congregate. Freed from illusions, you advanced with minimal fin kicks, scanning each shadow. Initially, only a few small fish flicked past, no sign of whiskered shapes. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadowed illusions that you wasted effort. Time slipped by as the day grew lighter overhead, subdued rays filtering down in graceful columns. Freed from illusions, you recalled that sea lions might remain on the rocky perch, possibly not venturing below unless curiosity or hunger spurred them. Then, from the corner of your vision, a swirl parted the water near a stone outcrop. Freed from illusions about random swirling, you turned carefully. Indeed, a sea lion emerged, rostrum angled toward the seafloor as though investigating an opening or searching for fish. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowing illusions that land-based rest dominated their entire day. Another sea lion joined, overshadowing illusions that individuals often roamed alone. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadowed illusions about comedic chaos. They advanced with calm poise, scanning the rocky substrate in short arcs. Occasionally, one surfaced, releasing short barks or breath puffs that you heard faintly, overshadowing illusions about silent submersion. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that these vocalizations served no purpose. Possibly they signaled to others still dozing above, or communicated mild warnings about potential threats. Freed from illusions, you hovered behind a partial boulder, exhaling minimal bubbles to avoid spooking them. A swirl indicated one sea lion had turned your way, overshadowing illusions that you remained invisible. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadowed illusions of tension. The sea lion glided closer, whiskers trembling in watery half-light, overshadowing illusions that it lacked curiosity. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that advanced interest was limited to orcas or dolphins. It circled once, then drifted away, overshadowing illusions about deeper contact. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowed illusions that you needed an extended interaction. Another sea lion parted from the group, descending to investigate a crevice that seemed to hold a small school of fish. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadowed illusions about clumsy approach. With fluid flicks of its flippers, it cornered the fish, overshadowing illusions that comedic barks equaled comedic hunts. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of random foraging. A short chase ensued, overshadowing illusions that sea lions only lazed. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadowed illusions that aquatic cunning belonged solely to apex whales. Eventually, the group angled outward, overshadowing illusions of indefinite presence. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions of your viewpoint matching to them. They vanished in mild arcs, blowholes releasing subdued puffs whenever they rose. Freed from illusions, you ascended for a fresh breath, noticing the sun had climbed higher, scattering the sea's surface with pale glints. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadowed illusions of dissatisfaction. You returned to the boat, acknowledging ephemeral arcs overshadow illusions that advanced intelligence solely belonged to species overshadowing illusions. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions, forging a tapestry of cunning hunts and gentle social interplay in each cameo. Navigating anew, illusions overshadowed by Hush guided you to a broader cove marked by low hills. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that your route was random. Locals had mentioned sea lions occasionally congregated near kelp fields here, overshadowing illusions that you might not see them. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadowed illusions of forced timing. You anchored carefully, scanning the water's calm expanse for faint heads or stirring whiskers. Freed from illusions, you donned your mask, slid off the boat, letting the Hush overshadow illusions of intrusion. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that sea lions remained hidden if fish teemed below. Submerging, you encountered a subdued world tinted by modest sunlight filtering through scattered kelp fronds. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadowed illusions that you might discover a swirl of sea lions immediately. Minutes glided past, your exhalations overshadowing illusions of impatience. Then a swirl parted the kelp, overshadowing illusions that you had drifted alone. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about comedic flipper movements. A sea lion advanced, possibly scanning for small fish darting among the kelp. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that comedic stunts overshadow advanced cunning. Another sea lion joined, overshadowing illusions of solitary hunts. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that they lacked group awareness. You observed them coordinate mild sweeps through the kelp, overshadowing illusions of random rummaging. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that advanced hunts only occurred with orcas or dolphins. At times, one paused to look your way, whiskers bristling with subdued curiosity. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that you intruded on their synergy. They resumed scanning the kelp for fish, overshadowing illusions of disruption. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about them ignoring your presence. If short bursts of squeaks or half-barks occasionally echoed overhead, illusions overshadowed by hush indicated these calls served more than random chatter. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about empty vocalization, pointing to advanced social signals bridging land-based rest and aquatic foraging. Eventually, the pair drifted deeper into the kelp forest, overshadowing illusions that they lingered for indefinite study. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of sadness, urging you to ascend for air with a quiet acceptance. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that ephemeral arcs failed to suffice. Climbing aboard your boat, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadowed illusions about missed opportunities. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy lived in each short cameo, overshadowing illusions that comedic barking defined them. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions, shaping your reflection on cunning hunts overshadowing illusions of random scrounging. Sometime midday, illusions overshadowed by hush spurred you to rest on a small beach cove. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about requiring constant immersion. Beaching the boat gently, you strolled the shore, scanning for whiskered heads bobbing near the breakers. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that you might corner a large gathering. Then you noticed a rocky section slightly south, where barks and mild scuffles echoed faintly. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that comedic noise overshadowed deeper complexity. Approaching carefully, you found at least half a dozen sea lions engaged in a mild row, possibly subadult males testing social boundaries. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about meaningless fights. Subtle body language, arched necks, parted jaws, short barks, overshadowing illusions that it was random aggression. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that they lacked advanced social hierarchies. After a few minutes, the bickering subsided, overshadowing illusions of endless conflict. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that apex cunning always manifested as hunts. Communal rest or small territorial disputes formed equally vital aspects of their daily synergy. Freed from illusions, you recognized how comedic barking overshadowed illusions of mindless noise, each short bark possibly indicating rank or boundary. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about simplistic monologue. Observing from a short distance, you sensed they tolerated your presence, overshadowing illusions that your vantage perturbed them. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions, forging acceptance as you watched them settle back into mild reposes on the stone. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that their fights ended with lethal consequences. Instead, advanced social codes overshadow illusions about chaotic scuffles. Eventually, illusions overshadowed by hush told you to leave them to their midday rest. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that further observation was mandatory. Drifting back to your boat, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that time had been wasted. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadowed illusions that you required direct aquatic contact each hour. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions, forging a sense of calm acceptance. As the afternoon wore on, illusions overshadowed by hush guided your final route for the day. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that you might find a large foraging swirl at once. Nudging the boat along gentle swells, you approached a stretch of open coastline, scanning for ephemeral arcs or silhouette heads. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about speed. The ocean glimmered in scattered sunbeams, overshadowing illusions that a drizzly morning predicted gloom. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions about controlling the weather. You anchored near a wide reef cresting from moderate depth, half lost in shimmering wave patterns. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about certain sightings. Slipping into cooler water again, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions of fatigue. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that sea lions might gather if fish thrived near this reef. Initially, you encountered a mild array of fish weaving among coral outcrops, overshadowing illusions that the reef lay barren. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that you roamed alone. Then, from behind a cluster of sponges, a slender figure slid into view, a young sea lion, overshadowing illusions that mature individuals alone roamed reefs. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that solitary juveniles lacked cunning. Observing it chase a small fish swirl, you recognized advanced technique overshadow illusions that comedic barks define them. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging silent admiration. Moments later, illusions overshadowed by hush parted as another sea lion joined, possibly a sibling or close peer. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that random schooling explained their grouping. They spun around each other, short playful darts overshadow illusions that they lacked social bonding in water. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of forced comedic acts. Instead, advanced interplay overshadow illusions about them being aimlessly playful, forging a delicate dance that spurred fish to scatter. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that hunts must be savage. This half-playful swirl might also yield a stray meal if fish cornered themselves. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of random teasing. After a mild chase, the pair dove deeper, overshadowing illusions that they would remain for your continued watch. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that ephemeral arcs signified lesser value. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, telling you these glimpses suffice to deepen your understanding. Ascending for air, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that you missed more. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that extended pursuit was necessary. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of regret, forging calm acceptance. Returning to your boat, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that your day had ended on a dull note. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that each ephemeral cameo lacked significance. Each swirl or short chase overshadow illusions that comedic tropes encompassed their complexity. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging a tapestry of cunning hunts, half-playful arcs, maternal vigilance, ephemeral leaps overshadow illusions that sea lions lived in static monotony. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about incomplete experiences. You motored away, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions about searching for more sightings. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that urgency overshadow hush. Possibly you moored in a small harbor as the sun drew near the horizon, painting the sky in subdued amber. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that you needed an entire night chasing them. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about your vantage controlling their daily arc. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, leaving you content to reflect quietly under a tangerine dusk. Night arrived with measured hush, illusions overshadowed by synergy, your thoughts replaying how each swirl or short bark overcame superficial comedic labels. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that advanced cunning belongs solely to orcas or dolphins. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, revealing sea lions bridging land and sea with equal assurance. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging calm acceptance that ephemeral arcs sufficed as proof of advanced marine adaptability. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions of simplistic social ties. Morning found illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions of final exhaustion. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that repetitive immersions had grown stale. You resumed your quiet routine, preparing minimal gear, overshadowing illusions about elaborate plans. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that you must see them daily. Possibly you took the boat out one last time, scanning a weathered coast famed for steep cliffs where sea lions sometimes perched on narrow ledges. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about guaranteed presence. Sailing near those cliffs, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions of haste. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that your motor's hum might scare them off. You cut the engine at a distance, letting the boat drift, overshadowing illusions that you needed immediate submersion. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions about forced leaps into the water. Then, scanning with gentle patience, you glimpsed dark lumps on a narrow rocky ledge halfway up the cliff's base, overshadowing illusions that sea lions only rested at sea level. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, revealing advanced climbing skill overshadow illusions that comedic barks define them. Several sea lions sprawled there, overshadowing illusions of random groupings. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that they simply collapsed anywhere. One or two shifted flippers, occasionally barked at a neighbor, overshadowing illusions that noise signified chaos. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, letting you realize these short calls likely established personal space or signaled mild warnings about shifting positions on precarious rock. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions of comedic tangles. Observing from the boat, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that you needed direct underwater contact to glean insights. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that land-based rest contradicted advanced aquatic cunning. In time, a few sea lions parted from that ledge, sliding down to smaller rocks near the tide line. Freed from illusions, you recognized synergy overshadow illusions that each movement was random. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that they might test the waters for foraging or a cooler shift from the sun. Some eventually slipped into the sea, whiskers brushing mild foam, overshadowing illusions about comedic belly flops. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic reference overshadow their advanced sense of water depth. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of a forced show. They advanced with minimal splashes, gliding into deeper water near the boat's vantage, overshadowing illusions that your presence alone drew them. You exhaled in hush, overshadowing illusions of abrupt approach. Freed from illusions, you rummaged for mask and fins, sliding in quietly, overshadowing illusions of intruding. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that ephemeral arcs might greet you. Submerging, you glimpsed the cliff's rocky underside, a slope tapering into gloom where seaweed and barnacles thrived. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions about a barren underwater. Soon, a swirl parted the water, overshadowing illusions that no sea lions ventured near. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that cunning overshadow comedic moves. One sea lion approached, whiskers glinting in half-light, overshadowing illusions that comedic barks define them. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that you might remain invisible. It performed a short arc around you, rostrum aimed downward. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about random curiosity. Another sea lion advanced, overshadowing illusions of solitary exploration. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that repeated comedic references overshadow advanced scanning. They circled a short distance away, overshadowing illusions that your vantage threatened them. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that advanced social interplay overcame trivial alarm. Time melted in hush-laden presence. Freed from illusions, you realized synergy overshadow illusions that sea lions lacked group intelligence. One approached again, tapping a fin lightly against a kelp frond as though testing it for hidden creatures. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that comedic nibbling overshadow advanced problem solving. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions of naive rummaging. Another sea lion soared upward, blowhole or nostrils breaking the surface with subdued huffs, overshadowing illusions that they breathed purely at leisure. Eventually, illusions overshadowed by hush parted as the group drifted out, overshadowing illusions about indefinite closeness. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that ephemeral arcs indicated lesser significance. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging acceptance of each fleeting meeting. Surfacing, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions about dissatisfaction. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about comedic stereotypes. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, reaffirming a deep respect for these whiskered navigators bridging two worlds. Returning to the boat, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that the day ended in emptiness. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that ephemeral arcs lacked depth. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions. You stowed your gear, scanning the cliff face where some sea lions still reclined, half-lidded in the noon sun. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that their bark-laden gatherings were random. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow advanced social codes. As your time in these latitudes waned, illusions overshadowed by hush shaped each final day's immersion or vantage. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that you might remain perpetually. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of sadness as you recognized ephemeral arcs suffice to glean advanced cunning overshadow illusions. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, forging a tapestry of hunts, maternal oversight, half-playful chases, comedic barks overshadow illusions of shallow intelligence. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, letting you see them as integral guardians of coastal ecosystems. On a concluding morning, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that you felt regret. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions of indefinite visits. You might stand on a stony outcropping, scanning the breakers for final glimpses of slender heads or swirling whiskers. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that this vantage guaranteed a farewell. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about them orchestrating a final show. If no arcs emerged, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions of disappointment. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, reminding you that ephemeral arcs continue beyond your gaze. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging acceptance. When you departed those shores, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that your bond with sea lions ended. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that your vantage shaped their continuity. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, ensuring each memory of cunning hunts or comedic swirls overshadow illusions about lazy trivial creatures. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, bridging comedic barks with advanced group structure. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of ephemeral memory. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, forging a lasting imprint in your mind. Returning to daily rhythms, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that these advanced whiskered mammals receded from thought. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic portrayals define them. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that advanced cunning belongs solely to orcas or dolphins. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, revealing sea lions bridging fluid hunts, communal rock gatherings, maternal devotion overshadow illusions about comedic loafing. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging a quiet vow to carry your experiences forward. Sometimes in quiet reflection, illusions overshadowed by hush shape your recollections. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that hunts were random. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, highlighting how sea lions pinned fish against rock corners or parted kelp fronds with delicate flipper strokes, overshadowing illusions of comedic thrashing. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about simplistic bark-based communication. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, each short bark or grunt forming a nuanced social code bridging half-sunlit rest and watery arcs. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that advanced intelligence requires flamboyant leaps. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow cunning. As years unfold, illusions overshadowed by hush remain your anchor, overshadowing illusions that ephemeral arcs vanish from memory. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that life's complexities overshadow those ephemeral arcs. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that advanced cunning ended when you left their domain. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about comedic tropes overshadowing the real nuance. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging a quiet confidence whenever you recall whiskered faces scanning you in watery gloom. Eventually, illusions overshadowed by hush might prompt you to share calm recollections with friends or younger relatives. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic legends suffice to describe sea lions. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, ensuring each retelling honors cunning hunts and communal lounges overshadow illusions of comedic laziness. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that your vantage alone shaped final truths. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, acknowledging these marine mammals continue arcs well beyond your retellings. In the final arcs of your journey, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that you parted from those coasts with regrets. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about ephemeral glimpses failing to satisfy. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging gratitude for each swirl near rocky reefs or half-playful spin under ledges. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic references define them. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of ephemeral memory, preserving arcs bridging land-based rest with aquatic forays. Thus illusions remain illusions, overshadowed by hush glean from sea lions forging hunts among kelp, communal rest on sunlit ledges, maternal vigilance overshadow illusions of naive rearing, ephemeral leaps overshadow illusions that comedic barks define them. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that advanced cunning belongs solely to certain marine species. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging acceptance that these whiskered guardians exemplify cunning hunts, half-playful arcs, short calls bridging social ties, overshadow illusions of shallow comedic tropes. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, forging ephemeral wonders that endure in hush-laden memory whenever you recall rostrum nudges, dorsal flips, or ephemeral arcs bridging land and sea. A heavy overcast settled above the coast at dawn, shading the waves in hues of charcoal and muted silver. The hush guiding your breath wove seamlessly into the subdued roar of the surf rolling onto a pebbly beach. You stood on a low dune, scanning the landscape for any fleeting shape, perhaps the dark silhouette of a sea lion roving in nearshore waters or a whiskered muzzle raised to test the wind. Wisps of mist threaded the air, suggesting a day of potential drizzle, but you sensed no urgency. Each wave that curled ashore imparted a quiet knowledge that sea lions had thrived here for countless generations, forging a bond with shifting tides. Freed from illusions that your presence determined their fate, you carried only a modest snorkel set, prepared to slip into the water if hush and circumstance aligned. Walking along moist sand, you noticed footprints left by someone who had passed at some earlier hour, though the hush in your heart overshadowed any illusions about shared destinations. Soon you found the shallow imprint of sea lion flippers etched in damp sediment, each mark telling of nighttime visits or ephemeral forays to the beach. Freed from illusions that comedic barks encompassed their entire behavior, you recognized these creatures' balanced land-based rest with marine cunning, overshadowing trivial stereotypes. Each paw-like track suggested synergy bridging rest and hunts. With hush as your guide, you advanced to the tittle-line, letting mild foam wash over your boots. The sky, still overcast, hinted at weak sunlight behind layered clouds. A short distance away, a rocky ledge extended seaward, forming a natural barrier that tempered incoming waves. You walked there, scanning for lumps or shapes that might indicate sea lions dozing. Freed from illusions that they always congregated in large numbers, you anticipated small subgroups or solitary stragglers. Indeed, a lone sea lion lounged on a broad stone near the ledge's crest, occasionally lifting its head to glance around. Freed from illusions about single presence signifying isolation, you recognized synergy in the background. Others might be underwater or on a hidden shelf. The hush guided your steps to a vantage that overlooked a calmer patch of water behind the ledge. Glimpsing an opportunity, you returned to a small inflatable craft you had set aside. Freed from illusions that advanced preparation guaranteed sightings, you launched it quietly, minimal engine hum overshadowed by the hush. Steering near the rocky ledge, you cut the power, letting the boat drift. That single sea lion on top barely stirred, though you noticed it track your position with half-lidded eyes. Freed from illusions about comedic docility, you understood it likely carried an advanced awareness of any approach. You slipped into the water gently, each exhalation forming subdued bubbles. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that stealth could mask your presence from them. Submerging under the shadow of the ledge, you found moderate clarity, the water tinted gray by the overcast sky. Freed from illusions about immediate arcs, you drifted with minimal motion, scanning each rocky cranny. Then, behind a half-submerged boulder, you sensed a swirl, an underwater current or passing shape. Your chest tightened in hush-laden anticipation. Freed from illusions about comedic approach, you expected subtle cunning. A whiskered face emerged, overshadowing illusions that comedic barks defined them. Another sea lion glided behind it, overshadowing illusions of solitary random presence. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions about naive scrounging. Both advanced carefully, scanning the ledge's base for fish pockets or investigating your shape in subdued half-light. They pivoted in unison, whiskers forward, as though exchanging silent signals. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that each move was random. Possibly they noticed small fish darting among the rocks, overshadowing illusions that foraging was unstructured. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of comedic scuffles. One parted from the other, diving deeper, overshadowing illusions of shallow constraints. The second sea lion hovered, exhaling mild bubbles from parted nostrils, overshadowing illusions that they only breathed at the surface. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that comedic stereotypes overshadow intelligence. A swirl indicated the first sea lion had cornered fish or found morsels near the reef. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that comedic pranks overshadow serious hunts. The second sea lion flicked its tail, accelerating to join, overshadowing illusions that each hunts alone. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that comedic yelps overshadow cunning. They moved as a pair, rostrums angled, occasionally releasing short calls that carried faintly in watery gloom. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions that advanced acoustic signals existed only among orcas or dolphins. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that comedic barking overshadow advanced communication. After some fleeting attempts, illusions overshadowed by hush told you their foraging near the ledge concluded. The two sea lions ascended, blowholes or nostrils surfacing in mild spouts. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that indefinite closeness shaped these arcs. Possibly they decided fish stocks were thin or detected another location offering better prospects. Freed from illusions, hush overshadowed illusions of dissatisfaction. You ascended for a breath, scanning the ledge top, noticing that solitary sea lion had vanished, overshadowing illusions that it remained in static rest. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadowed illusions that comedic stationary presence defined them. Climbing aboard the boat, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions of longing. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that you must chase them. Navigating away, you let the hush saturate each breath, overshadowing illusions that ephemeral arcs were unsatisfying. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic stereotypes overshadow cunning hunts. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions forging acceptance. Farther up the coast, illusions overshadowed by hush guided you to a broad lagoon known for calmer waters where sea lions sometimes gathered with pups. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that maternal oversight was simplistic. Steering gently, you scanned for whiskered faces near the lagoon's sandy margins. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions about guaranteed sightings. Then you spotted short lumps on a small beach, overshadowing illusions that they might be random debris. A mild bark or squeak reached your ears as you drifted near. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic barking overshadow advanced maternal ties. Cutting the motor, you anchored at a safe distance. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of abrupt approach. Slipping into the water, you approached the lagoon's shallows, each mild wave overshadowing illusions that stealth was complete. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that pups roamed unsupervised. Submerging slightly near a seafloor scattered with shells, you glimpsed the silhouettes of at least 3 sea lions. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that comedic aimlessness overshadow advanced rearing. A mother sea lion guided a small pup near the sandy bottom, overshadowing illusions that pups learn all by trial alone. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic barks overshadow maternal discipline. The pups scurried in short bursts, exploring pebbles or nibbling on stray objects, overshadowing illusions about naive passivity. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that comedic squeals overshadow advanced curiosity. Another sea lion, possibly an older female, lingered close, overshadowing illusions about random gatherings. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that advanced social structures revolve solely around orcas. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions of trivial maternal care. Observing from a mild vantage, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that you needed to intervene. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow cunning. The mother occasionally used her rostrum to nudge the pup away from potential hazards or deeper water. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that comedic fumbling overshadow advanced maternal instruction. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that pups learn in solitary. Another short bark from above suggested a sentinel role, overshadowing illusions about random squealing. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that comedic calls overshadow advanced signals. Time glided as you savored each ephemeral swirl near the lagoon floor. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that maternal guidance ended quickly. The pup repeated small explorations, overshadowing illusions that comedic stumbling overshadow a real process of skill building. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions, forging acceptance that each short motion shaped future hunts or social integration. Eventually, illusions overshadowed by Hush signaled the group angled upward, overshadowing illusions that indefinite contact was guaranteed. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that comedic rearing overshadow advanced aquatic literacy. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions of dissatisfaction. Surfacing, illusions overshadowed by Hush overshadow illusions about your vantage dictating more. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that ephemeral arcs define lesser experiences. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions of monotony, forging calm. Climbing aboard your vessel, illusions overshadowed by Hush overshadow illusions that you needed more encounters. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions of comedic barking overshadow cunning hunts or maternal ties. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions, letting each ephemeral swirl deepen your respect. Navigating away from the lagoon, illusions overshadowed by Hush overshadow illusions about your day's possibilities. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that comedic routines overshadow advanced intelligence. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions, shaping your choice to revisit a wide reef near deeper waters. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that repeated routes yield nothing new. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow new discoveries. Arriving at the reef, illusions overshadowed by Hush overshadow illusions that sea lions might not appear. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions, reminding you fish activity might draw them in. Dropping anchor, you again don snorkel gear, overshadowing illusions of exhaustion. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions, guiding a final immersion. Submerging below, you encountered moderate visibility, waves shifting the light in dancing patterns. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions about comedic arcs overshadow cunning. Scattered fish formed glimmering arcs in the gloom, overshadowing illusions that the reef was barren. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions, letting you drift unhurriedly. Time progressed in near silence, illusions overshadowed by Hush overshadow illusions of impatience. Eventually, a swirl parted the gloom. Two sea lions advanced at mid-depth, overshadowing illusions that comedic pranks overshadow advanced scanning. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that random movement overshadow cunning hunts. They traversed the reef's edge, whiskers leading their approach whenever they spotted potential morsels. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions that comedic fumbling overshadow advanced tactics. One sea lion angled upward, overshadowing illusions that they lacked breath discipline, exhaling mild puffs. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that comedic noise overshadow deeper calls. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions about aggression. You hovered behind a small coral outcrop, illusions overshadowed by Hush overshadow illusions that you spied undetected. Likely they sensed your shape in subtle echoes. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that comedic or naive references overshadow advanced awareness. Another swirl introduced a third sea lion, overshadowing illusions of solitary behavior. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions that comedic stunts overshadow clan-based synergy. The trio formed mild arcs near the reef crest, overshadowing illusions about random searching. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that comedic barking overshadow cunning. Perhaps they cornered a pocket of fish or tested a nook for any hidden prey. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions that hunts required chaotic splashing. A short scuffle of motion indicated they found fish, overshadowing illusions that comedic stumbles overshadow real hunts. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow cunning. Swift lunges ensued, overshadowing illusions about clumsy attempts. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions that comedic illusions overshadow advanced foraging. Each sea lion performed partial loops, scanning for escape routes fish might attempt. Freed from illusions, Synergy overshadow illusions about random swirling. Then they snapped up a few fish, overshadowing illusions that comedic yelps overshadow the Hush-laden skill. Freed from illusions, Hush overshadow illusions, forging acceptance that cunning overshadow comedic cliches. After the brief feeding spree, illusions overshadowed by Hush overshadow illusions about indefinite lingering. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow advanced hunts. The trio gradually dispersed, overshadowing illusions that they might remain for your convenience. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions about disappointment. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, forging calm acceptance of ephemeral arcs. Surfacing for air, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that you required more. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic tropes overshadow nuanced reality. Returning to the boat, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that your day was incomplete. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about comedic stunts overshadow cunning hunts or maternal oversight. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, letting ephemeral arcs define a fulfilling tapestry. Possibly you navigated to a small harbor or a beach campsite, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions of gloom. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow each memory of rostrum taps or short forays. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging contentment. Over repeated days, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions about monotony. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic bark-laden gatherings overshadow cunning hunts or intricate social alliances. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions about trivial glimpses. You recognized each ephemeral swirl bridged advanced adaptation overshadow illusions that sea lions merely lounged. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic voices overshadow intelligence. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that your vantage shaped their daily arcs. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, bridging ephemeral cameo with deeper comprehension. Eventually, illusions overshadowed by hush signaled your final departure from these coasts. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that you parted in sorrow. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging acceptance that ephemeral arcs continued beyond your watch. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic stereotypes overshadow cunning. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions that advanced intelligence thrives in them. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about ephemeral memory. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, enabling you to carry these illusions undone into future reflection. Adapting back to daily rhythms or traveling onward, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that you severed your bond with sea lions. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow deep nuance. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions about them being lesser. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, forging humility as you retold glimpses of cunning hunts among kelp. Maternal guidance overshadow illusions of naive pups. Ephemeral leaps overshadow illusions that comedic stunts define them. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, ensuring each ephemeral cameo left an enduring impression. Sometimes in quiet hours, illusions overshadowed by hush overcame any restlessness. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions that comedic barks overshadow advanced calls. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, conjuring images of whiskered faces diving with agile poise, or resting on sunlit stone while short barks maintain social order. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions of naive gatherings overshadow advanced structure. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging mental journeys back to stony reefs, ephemeral arcs bridging land lounging and aquatic cunning. In later chapters of life, illusions overshadowed by hush overshadow illusions that ephemeral arcs fade. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about comedic references overshadow your lasting revelations. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, letting you recall each swirl with clarity. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about comedic tropes overshadow cunning hunts. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, forging gratitude that sea lions remain vibrant stewards of coastal synergy. Thus illusions remain illusions, overshadowed by hush glean from sea lions bridging wave-lapped rocks and kelp-laden depths. Maternal devotion overshadow illusions of naive pups. Cunning hunts overshadow illusions that comedic barks define them. Ephemeral leaps overshadow illusions that comedic references overshadow their advanced acuity. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions, forging a tapestry of agile social intelligence. Freed from illusions, hush overshadow illusions, ensuring each cameo offered profound insight. Freed from illusions, synergy overshadow illusions about ephemeral memory, weaving arcs beyond your vantage so long as tides endure.